Kumbaya, my lord. This isn't just kumbaya talk. Purpose drives impact. Looking to empower up your day? Tune in to Evolve Together with Empower People on ESPN Richmond, powered by MikeKingBiz. Join me, host and Empower People founder Tiffany Joy Greene, MBA, as I bring dynamic leaders, change makers, and entrepreneurs to share their journeys, challenges, and successes while driving their purpose to drive positive impact and empower people. Empower People is an organization that provides education, connection, and support to mission and purpose-driven leaders to drive positive impact and empower people. Catch us every Tuesday at 5 a.m. on ESPN Richmond and join Empower People today. What are you waiting for? We even have a free membership. That's right, free. Visit www.empowerpeople.org. That is MPWRPeople.org. You can also visit us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. Evolve Together. Welcome to Evolve Together with Empower People, the show that brings you inspiring stories, expert insights, and transformative advice on ESPN Richmond, powered by MikeKingBiz. I'm your host, Tiffany Joy Greene, founder of Empower People. Each week, we dive into topics that are rooted in how purpose drives business and positive impact. Join us as we connect with dynamic guests, explore innovative ideas, and empower you to evolve and thrive in every aspect of your life. Stay tuned because together we can achieve greatness. Let's evolve together. To learn more about Empower People, you can visit www.empowerpeople.org. That's MPWRPeople.org. Or find us on YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn. #Empower People. Today, we have a special guest that was only on, I think, actually, you were on last week with us, Chris.
I think so, yeah, you're right.
He's also a dealer, not that kind of dealer, folks. He's a hope dealer. Come on. Right, Chris?
That's right. Hope springs eternal, as they say, right? So everybody needs it.
That's right. And today's show, we're going to be talking about something really interesting. We're going to be talking about voting. We're not late to the game because the election has already gone by, but what we're going to be talking about with voting is how our dollars actually cast votes every single day. So, Chris did a little TED talk a while ago about dealing. Again, hope dealing, people. Chris, why don't you shed a little bit of light on that and how that translates into voting with our dollars?
Sure. Yeah, it was it's really just a fascinating topic because we all know that politics are expensive, right? Every cycle we hear billions and trillions of dollars and local TV ads, and well, somebody's paying for that, right? The candidates aren't paying for that. Their staff's not paying for that. So who is paying for that? Well, it's corporations, right? Corporations on both sides, they make donations, right? You can simply go to a website like opensecrets.com and you can see who's donating to what political party. So taxpayers, right? People, voters are actually paying for all the campaign ads and all the mailers and yard signs, right? Corporations are paying for that. Well, why are corporations paying for that? Corporations donate to the political party that they believe best supports their position, especially on economic issues. So, or regulation issues. If I don't have to adhere to pollution regulations and I don't have to have those safety things in place, I can operate cheaper, right? So therefore, I'm going to vote for the person that will most closely align with me and support my positions. So we take that then one step back, right? And we look at, well, geez, if voters are paying for it, corporations are making donations to politicians. Where do corporations get their money, right? From consumers. So back in 2023, which good gravy seems like it was like 2 lifetimes ago, but you can almost, if you're looking for it on your computer, 2023 and 2024 are right next to each other. But in 2023, a lifetime ago, I did a TEDx where I talked about using your consumer influence to uh, uh, coerce, if you will, uh, politicians to vote on legislation that supports things you care about, right? So in my TEDx, I gave a couple examples, and the one uh, a rather kind of controversial example here in the United States um, with Dick's Sporting Goods. Right, Dick's Sporting Goods, after the Parkland school shooting, decided they were going to stop selling guns. Right, period. They just stopped. They made an announcement. They said to stop, and you could feel it go to the stock market. Right, they were like, "Oh, Dick's Sporting Goods is going down. This is the end of Dick's Sporting Goods, a major athletic apparel retailer. It's over for them." And actually, quite the opposite happened. Is all the folks who cared about whether retailers were selling firearms actually made a decision to go shop at Dick's Sporting Goods instead of where they were shopping previously. So they bolstered Dick's, and Dick's saw like a third of their increase by a third in revenue for the next 3 quarters. So it really, having that stance really paid off for Dick's. And not only did it pay off for Dick's, shortly after that, Walmart, which was by far and away, right, the number one seller of guns in the country, decided they were going to stop selling them. And why? Because they saw the impact that it had at Dick's Sporting Goods revenue, right? Not social sentiment at all. That they watched their revenue, their bottom line, and said, "Hey, Dick's grew by a third in 3 consecutive quarters. We need to be on that train." And so they did. And that's one of the biggest examples of how consumers can influence policy.
In your TED Talk, first, you know me, I like to joke, and I don't think I've heard any one person say in any radio program or possibly television program say Dick's so much and not break an FCC regulation. But anyway, let's just take a moment and.
Well, I did follow that with Sporting Goods.
There you go. You were very clear. You were very clear, crystal clear. But in your TED Talk, you were talking about something more localized during COVID. Can you share that story about, because people are like, okay, that sounds good for these big corporations, but how about the smaller business where we can't just go and look this stuff up?
Right. You're actually, I'm so glad you asked that, because that is actually where the sausage gets made, right? Most of the businesses in our country are small business, right? And they have the largest opportunity to impact government policy, right? Just because of their size. So in my TED Talk, I talked about Matchsticks Barbecue, which is out in Williamsburg, Virginia. But you can, we'll talk about Matchsticks, but if you live in Richmond, if you live in Charlottesville, no matter where you live, most likely somebody in your community is supporting a cause you care about.
Like Puritans Cleaners with a donation of coats, for example.
Yeah, exactly. So, somebody out there is doing good in your community. And gosh, doesn't it just make sense to go and support that local business that is doing good in your community? It makes a lot of sense to me. It makes a lot of sense to a lot of people. And how do I know? Matchsticks Barbecue during COVID, when we were kind of all shuttered in place and really struggling to find our footing, right? Matchsticks Barbecue, they said, you know what? In our community, because of the impacts of COVID, right, those kids that were getting 2 or 3 meals a day at school are no longer getting those meals at school. We've got to do something, right? So Matchsticks started serving 2 meals a day to all those kids in the James City County schools that were no longer receiving nutrition at school. And that made a difference, right? They became very popular. The word got out. They were in local newspapers, on local television. They became a thing, right? It kind of grew and grew and grew. In fact, it grew so much that they actually then went from a food truck and opened a restaurant. So that is the power of finding something good in your community, doing it, and then people will recognize you and support you for it.
I love that. And so that goes back to what I was saying at the beginning of the show is we have power every single day of voting for what we want in this country. So regardless of the election, that the election passes by, this is not a late to the game story. We didn't miss the boat, folks. It means every single day, regardless if it's a campaign year, election year, we have an opportunity to make a difference with our dollars. No matter how many dollars you have or how few dollars you have, every dollar counts as you're placing your vote for what matters to you. So, you know, there's a resource called opensecrets.org. If you go there, it'll show you where dollars are going, who's placing their votes with what candidates and political parties and all that fun stuff. And then if you're like, but small business, isn't that about 95% of the economy? Like how I threw a stat in there, Chris, just seamless. How do I know who small business, like they're not listed on opensecrets.org. No, they're not. So it's like what Chris was saying. Go to the charities and the nonprofits that you find very important, that are important to you, things that you really believe in, and see who their donors are. Because guess what? When they donate, nonprofits brag about that, and you'll easily find that probably even on their homepage. It's not even hidden. And you could say, wow, that business is a really big advocate. I'll throw out an example, Chesterfield Food Bank. And I really believe in Chesterfield Food Bank. So you know what? I'm going to go throw more business that way because I know that also helps Chesterfield Food Bank. So it just takes a little bit of research. We're not talking much, are we, Chris?
No, it is one of the things that nonprofits really do is celebrate their donors, right? So if you have that thing that you care about and you find that community organization, whether it's nonprofit or for-profit that donates to the nonprofits or runs programs, they're pretty easy to find, right? You have to care enough to go look. And I want to talk about a different side to this, though. Something that we've seen over and over and over again is we're talking about being inclusive, right? We're talking about supporting the businesses that are doing the things we like. But there's another side to that, right? There's a darker side that says, I'm not going to support a business because they support a party that I don't agree with, right? Or we're going to attack a business for what they believe in, and that could be a slippery slope, right? We've seen brand after brand after brand fall victim of that kind of political hate, right? So
Cancel culture.
What's that?
Cancel culture.
Cancel culture, but it has real. So I just want to give you a real life example, probably something that every person that is listening can remember. You remember Bud Light, right? Bud Light used to be the #1 beer brand in the United States, hands down, far and away. Then they committed a crime, right? They committed a crime of having a transgender person in a commercial. And the next thing you know, they're no longer #1, they're #4, right? And you see all this social media of people with AR-15s shooting cans of Bud Light. It made it into political campaign ads, right? So when you think about businesses, right, and we demonize people for having different beliefs, there are actual economic impacts to that, right? You can say, Anheuser-Busch really took it on the chin because I shot up a 12-pack of Bud Light on my YouTube channel or in my campaign ad. But you know what? People also lost jobs. Families lost economic stability, right? It is the guy that loads that beer onto a truck or takes it into the store, or the person on the production line filling the cans, did that person deserve that? Right? Did those people who were just trying to do their job and do it to the best of their ability, did they deserve that kind of hatred? Right? Did they deserve that kind of punishment for some perceived crime that a corporation committed? Probably not, right? Or let's not walk the fence. They did not, right? They did not deserve that. So let's be careful on when we decide who we're going to support. That when you move your money from one place to another, there are impacts, both positive and negative. And I'm not suggesting that we don't support people who care about causes that we care about. Just recognize that there are impacts all around. And the more we can,
worth the squeeze.
Yeah. And the more we can think about how our dollars, whether we spend a lot or a little, impacts both ways. So just be thoughtful and mindful and considerate of that when you're making those purchase decisions.
And I think it's really important to say that, at least for me, Mr. Hope Dealer, the Princess of Purpose, is now going to start talking about purpose. That if you know what your purpose is and what your core values are, you should be voting, aka buying from entities that have some sort of aligned purpose. Now, that doesn't mean, I want to be clear because you're bringing up a very good point. Now, businesses, no matter how big or small, are comprised of people. And when anything is comprised of people, we know it's not going to be perfect. There's no utopia. There is no corporation or business that's around today, even the one that people like to talk about, like myself, because they're very purpose-driven, Patagonia, that never made a mistake, right? Because we're all flawed, right? So, we got to think about that too. Like, there is no perfect entity, but who is actually got purpose and actually doing a good deal of action in trying to showcase, implement, and act upon that purpose, right? Is the good outweigh the bad, really, at the end of the day, right? And who also, I think this is really key. And I think this is when we talk about cancel culture, I think let's be clear. Most people know we're flawed. I think most people are aware that people are flawed. And we are actually pretty forgiving when people own their mistakes but don't repeat them, right? So if you are voting, meaning buying, from a company, a business who's made a mistake, and you're like, well, that's it, I'm never buying that from them again. The question is, did they make a mistake and show remorse and bounce back from it and take on new action? Which might mean, hey, give them another chance. Or is it in fact, they weren't being authentic and sincere with their purpose and what's important to them. It is time for me to find another entity that is purpose aligned with myself, right? So I know that probably seems like, wow, this is really getting complicated. I just wanted to go to the store and buy a bar of soap, right? But
does anybody use bar soap anymore? I don't. But anyways,
my husband does. I don't know. They're still selling it, so there's people out there using it.
Fair point.
So I think the essence, you got to choose, right? What might be important to me and how I vote, how I buy is maybe different than Chris, right? And that's okay. But that makes us uniquely different. But that also is what gives us our power. So when we feel like, oh my gosh, I've lost all my power, I have no sense of influence, that is not true. Because all of our dollars, every dollar bill adds up. And collectively, that causes a lot of change. Anything you'd like to add, Chris?
Yeah, the concept of the influence and power of money is not new, right? It's always existed since we were, trading pure ounces of gold or gold coins. So that is not change, and it probably never will change until we reach the point in our society in which money is no longer relevant. Right? Yeah. Good luck. Let's wait for that one. But what is changing is the availability of the information about companies and corporations that uh, are doing business and then doing good or bad things inside our communities. In my TED talk, I said, hey, I think we could change the world in 5 minutes a day. If every person went and looked up took the cause they care about, found somebody in their community that was doing good on that thing that I care about, and then supporting that, and then telling others that I'm supporting that and why I'm supporting that. If we could do that one social media post every day, talking about why this company is making a positive impact in our community, then we start to influence um, uh, how others around us might behave, right? Because it may not be enough for me to go and spend my $5 for my cup of coffee at a local coffee shop versus a chain coffee shop. But if I can convince 10 of my friends to do the same, right, or everyone that looks at my Facebook post, then now we're making a difference, right? So it's not always the amount of money that you spend that wields the power. It's the influence that you have also that wields the power, and nothing makes that more obvious, right, than the influencer culture that you see in social media today. The ability to move markets, right? A celebrity shows up at an event wearing a brand code or shoes, right, and all of a sudden that brand spikes. We could do that on a micro level, right where we live, right? This coffee shop donates food to the homeless shelter in the evening whenever their sandwiches, right? They can no longer sell them. They donate them to the homeless shelter, right? And then people start saying, oh, maybe I'll go and buy a sandwich there. And 10 people start doing it, 15 people start doing it, and that business grows. So it's not just the big celebrity endorsement, it's the endorsement of the everyday people that are working and living in that community that is just super important to small businesses.
It's the ripple effect. And I want to say, in your TED Talk, you talked about your mom and how your parents divorced when you were 10, if I remember correctly, and she had to work 3 jobs
Yep,
just to feed you and your brother.
yep, that's right.
And so I want to say something to the people who might be in your mom's position, who's working 3 jobs and are like, I'm at capacity. Man, I'd like to help. I don't even know. Like, I hear what you're saying, but I don't know how to implement anything. Like, you're talking so all of this, I'm agreeing with you, but what do? I feel like I'm at capacity. I don't know how to enact anything you're saying. I want to give 2 examples from my childhood that resonated with me. And this is where I kind of got this whole, you vote with your dollars and purpose alignment. It's when I was a kid. I don't know if this happened across the country or if it was regional or just my neck of the woods, okay? But we know there's 2 top soda brands, right? And there are a lot of people who didn't buy one soda brand because they were anti-union. So because that one soda brand that was anti-union, and a lot of people like, I don't care. And this one soda brand, they kept decreasing their price, trying to compete with the other one. But that other soda brand, they're like, I'm sticking with this other one because they're union. And because of that, not only did they maintain their top spot, they also were featured and had partnerships with a lot of other restaurants, right? Because that was the trickle effect. So that I remember very well. The
Yeah.
other one was tuna fish. You're like, whoa, that's different. The reason why I remember tuna fish, because tuna fish is a very affordable product. And I come from an area that didn't have a lot of money. So lots of people were buying tuna fish. But a lot of people stopped buying one brand of tuna fish. And do you remember the time when there was one brand of tuna fish that was killing a lot of dolphins?
Yes. Yep.
So, not trying to be sexist right now, but back in the day when I was a kid, it was mostly moms who were doing the grocery shopping. And so a lot of the moms would stand in that aisle and would not buy that one brand of tuna fish because they didn't want to see dolphins die.
Yep.
And so that impacted tuna fish sales. So they didn't just go in there and buy automatically what was cheaper. Now, I'm trying to think of your mom right now, Chris, and your mom might say, well, cheaper is really important to me, but when we're talking in these products where we're talking maybe 2 cents, 5 cents, you might be able to get away with paying that 5 cents more, right? So if you're watching this, listening to this, and you're like, what can I do? Buy the tuna fish that doesn't kill dolphins, right? Not literally, but you see, I'm just trying to make an analogy.
Yeah, and there's so many. One of the problems, not problems, one of the challenges like nonprofits have today, and there are so many very valid reasons why we have concerns, right? Food prices are going up, gas prices are going up, people's budgets are being constrained, yet corporate profits are absolutely through the roof, which invigorates then the stock market, right? So, and, it's like a one of those squishy toys. You squeeze it on one end, the other side gets bigger. You squeeze that in, the other side gets bigger. So, we have this constant struggle of where does it make the most sense to spend our money, right? And that's why I'm suggesting find that thing that you care about, and then go find that small business in your community that also cares about that thing or aligns with your purpose. How much can the people in Richmond influence a global market, right? You could argue there's probably not a lot of influence we're going to be able to wield, but can we influence whether our local coffee shop or our local diner or the house cleaning business or the landscaping business? Can we influence those families' lives, and can we make our own community grow by supporting those places with money we were, to your point, already going to spend, right? We were already going to spend that money. Why not spend it someplace that aligns with my purpose? And I think that is a logical, I dare say, adult thing to do, right? It just makes sense. And when we start to think about those things that are important to us and what our purpose is, and we start to think, well, how come everybody doesn't view the world that way? And that's when we get into the ugliness, right? And that's when we start to see the Bud Lights of the world happen, and people's lives become ruined. I can find people and organizations and businesses that align with my purpose, but I don't have to demonize everybody else. And I think sometimes we lose sight of that. And if we are persistent with sharing our message, consistent on what our message is in our personal lives, in our social media, we don't have to be negative. We don't have to talk bad about others. We can simply show why we care about that and how this organization supports my belief, and then leave it at that. We don't need to go down that rabbit hole of hate and discontent.
Hate is a bad thing. And when you say that, there's something that I want to say, and then we're going to have to wrap up, Chris, is that I hear this, and I'm not broad stroking saying every single person saying this, but I do hear a good chunk of people saying this. They demonize corporations, like all corporations are evil. That is in fact false.
Yeah,
so let's be clear. Let's be clear that is not fair, and it's not a healthy mindset. We need all sizes of organizations and businesses in this country and all societies. So again, just be careful when you do these broad strokes like that, because very, very seldom do those broad strokes, as we know, actually are they accurate, right? So yep. We're gonna have to talk about this again, Chris. I don't think this is a one-time only type of topic of conversation.
Well, you know me, I'm always around.
And you know me, I like to talk. So, and anybody who asks me if that was an Olympic sport, I think I'd have a chat. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in today to the Involved Together with Empower People show on ESPN Richmond, powered by MikeKingBiz. I'm your host, Tiffany Joy Greene, or as Mike likes to call me and some other folks, Princess of Purpose. Some people call me Manic Maple. And it's been a pleasure sharing this time with you. We hope today's episode inspired you, provided valuable insights, and empowered you to take the next step in your purpose-driven journey. Don't forget to connect with Empower People on social media, share your thoughts, and join Empower People community, where education, connection, and support is offered to mission and purpose-driven leaders to drive positive impact and empower people. Until next time, keep evolving, stay empowered, and remember that together we can achieve greatness. Have a fantastic day, and we'll see you on the next episode of Evolve Together with Empower People. Let's evolve together.